A voice echoed across the sky, calling out a single name. Lying on the cold ground, our hero believed that the voice had come from the heavens. From that moment, he was given a single command: protect that child. That order became the sole reason for his existence. The one who gave it was Qian Wei Gang, the powerful head of the heavenly clan. Without hesitation, our hero bowed his head and accepted his fate. At the time, he understood nothing. All he could see was a frightened little boy hiding behind his father's robes. He never imagined that child would one day grow up to destroy everything. But our hero did not question it. He only knew loyalty. 15 years passed. Qian Wei Gang died. With his death, the heavenly clan began to crumble. The first son, Chun Mudiang, became arrogant and reckless. The clan's wealth vanished. Allies withdrew. Servants abandoned the estate. The once dominant clan slowly fell into ruin. But even as everyone else left, our hero remained. He stayed by Mudiang's side and became his personal bodyguard. Through every insult, cowardly retreat, and foolish decision, he continued to protect him. Then, one rainy night, two suspicious figures arrived at the estate. Before our hero could react, a blade pierced through his back. He looked down in disbelief. The sword was held by Chun Mudiang himself. Our hero fell to his knees as the strength left his body. In that moment, he understood that some people never change. From the ground, he saw hooded figures approaching, men dressed in red, silently watching. Mudiang looked at them with desperation, as if begging for protection, but the cultists ignored him. They walked forward, toward both of them. Lightning tore across the sky. In that brief flash, their grotesque appearances were revealed. One had his eyes and mouth sewn shut. Another wore a demonic mask, with trophies hanging from his waist. Mudiang's fear deepened. He had betrayed his most loyal guard, only to be betrayed himself. A massive old man stepped forward and raised a giant weapon. Mudiang attempted to flee. Too late. The blade came crashing down, killing the first son of the heavenly clan instantly. Watching it happen, our hero felt nothing but regret. Not because his master had died, but because he had wasted his life protecting him. With his remaining strength, our hero lunged at one of the cultists. His sword slipped from his hand and fell into the rain. His body gave out. The cultists approached. He could no longer move. As darkness crept in, a single thought filled his mind. He had never had a real name. That was all he had ever been. A shadow, a weapon, a servant. Looking up at the storm-filled sky, he accepted his fate. With his final breath, he made one wish. If he were ever reborn, he wanted a real name, a different life, and he never wanted to be himself again. The cultists finished him, and our hero died. But death felt cold. Then he opened his eyes. A girl was washing his feet. Startled, our hero suddenly sat up, causing her to fall backward in surprise. He clearly remembered dying, the rain, the blades, the betrayal, yet he was alive. The girl apologized, thinking the water had been too cold. Our hero recognized her. Wol Yang. She had been Chun Mudiang's personal maid, always mistreated and silent. Now she was addressing him as the young master. Confused, our hero asked where Chun Mudiang was. Wol Yang looked at him strangely, then pointed at him. His heart stopped. Our hero rushed to the water basin and stared at his reflection. The face staring back at him was the man who had betrayed him. He had returned 15 years into the past, reborn inside the body of Chun Mudiang. When he asked if there was anyone in the clan with his former name, there was none. His previous identity had vanished completely. Now, our hero was the first son of the heavenly clan. Now reborn as Chun Mudiang, he saw this as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to protect the heavenly clan with his own hands, having a 15-year head start. As he began planning his next move, he noticed something strange about the room. The first son's chamber was unusually plain and poorly maintained. It was small and looked no different from a disciple's quarters. As he searched for an explanation, a blue light caught his attention from a sword resting on a shelf. He immediately recognized the weapon. It was the same sword Chun Mudiang had used to kill him in his previous life, the Heavenly Light Sword. A legendary blade said to have been born from lightning, capable of cutting through darkness itself. The treasured sword of the heavenly clan now belonged to him. Overwhelmed by the realization, his heart began to race, and his nose started to bleed from the pressure emitted by the weapon. He slowly drew the sword. Seeing his new reflection in the blade, he resolved to change his fate. However, as he began testing the weapon, his new body quickly reached its limit. After only a few swings, his breathing became unstable, and his arms grew heavy. His stamina was so poor that he felt nauseous and nearly vomited. Moments later, he collapsed onto the floor, completely exhausted. He was shocked at how quickly his muscles and breathing had reached their limit. Later that night, under the full moon, he decided to examine the condition of his new body. Even without training, a person's body should not become this weak after only a few movements. Normally, cultivated qi flows freely through the body's meridians. But as he analyzed Chun Mudiang's body, he noticed something unusual. A massive amount of energy was trapped inside, clashing violently. He quickly realized the cause: qi deviation. Chun Mudiang had consumed spiritual medicine incorrectly, causing his internal energy to become unstable. The next day, in the training courtyard, several disciples were practicing with wooden swords. During a sparring sparring match, one disciple was struck hard on the head by his opponent. Angered by the blow, he protested, claiming that too much force had been used during practice. However, the attacker mocked him and demanded payment for a bet they had made. As the situation escalated, Chonmu-ryang appeared at the entrance of the training field. The disciples were surprised to see him there, holding a wooden sword for the first time. Realizing how weak his new body was, he decided that his priority was to improve his physical condition. He began running around the courtyard. The surrounding disciples watched him with curiosity and disdain. Despite the difficulty, he continued running with determination, passing by the confused onlookers. Seeing this, one of the bullies commented that the young master did not seem to be leaving anytime soon. With a smirk, he decided to make sure Chonmu-ryang would eventually give up. Our hero kept running, already out of breath and completely unaware of the incoming strike. While running, he realized that his body's condition was far worse than he had expected. All the spiritual pills had turned into poison inside this body. If the real Chonmu-ryang had trained properly, he would have possessed immense martial power. Suddenly, a sword flew past our hero's face, catching him completely off guard. Immediately after, the hilt struck him in the stomach. From the impact, the sword flew out of the attacker's hand and became lodged in a wooden pillar. Our hero glanced to the side and saw the sharp blade embedded in the wood. He quickly realized that the bully had used a real weapon against him. The attacker approached and offered a false apology, claiming the sword had slipped. Behind him, the other disciples laughed at the situation. Their leader maintained a smug smile, clearly showing that it had been intentional. Facing the provocation, our hero glared at them in anger. The group gathered and claimed the training ground was too dangerous for the young master. Our hero understood that they were deliberately trying to force him out. Their leader assumed that a simple warning would be enough to intimidate him. He gave another insincere apology with a smirk. Our hero thanked him for the concern and stated that he would be more careful. After that, he turned around and continued running as if nothing had happened. The other disciples burst into laughter and began collecting money from a bet. With their winnings, they decided to leave and celebrate, while their leader remained behind, staring at Chonmu-ryang with clear hostility. Meanwhile, our hero continued running without stopping. He found it absurd that the clan's own warriors would insult their master so openly. He then remembered the Heavenly Clan's martial arts that he had always wanted to learn. Now that he had become Chonmu-ryang, he realized he could finally access the clan's library. Upon arriving at the Heavenly Dragon Library, he encountered a problem. With an annoyed expression, our hero questioned what he had just heard. A guard blocked his path and repeated that Chonmu-ryang had lost his rank as the young head of the family. Our hero was shocked by the news. Because of this, he was denied entry into the library. Left with no other choice, he turned away and returned to his room. Back inside, he collapsed onto the bed, exhausted from the day's events. Looking around at the cramped and plain room, everything began to make sense. He had already lost his noble title. He had intended to learn how to properly absorb the energy from the medicines, but now he needed a new plan. Chonmu-ryang's childhood had not been easy either. His body was ruined, and he had been surrounded by enemies and untrustworthy subordinates. Our hero wondered if that was why he had come to view even his own bodyguard as a threat, but he dismissed the thought. The Heavenly Clan had been destroyed because the young master allowed a dark cult inside. Excuses were meaningless. Inside the room, our hero noticed a food box left behind. He opened it and found a mushroom dish prepared by Wolyong. While eating, he wondered how Chonmu-ryang had become so out of shape on such meals. At the very least, he realized he now had one person on his side. The next morning, he woke up early to begin his training. Outside, he stretched and prepared himself. Even though his body felt heavy, he took a deep breath and began. His entire body ached from even a simple warm-up. At that moment, Wolyong arrived, surprised to see him awake so early. She was holding a box in her hands. Our hero noticed that she was carrying his clothes for laundry. Startled, she apologized, explaining that she had fallen asleep while waiting for him. He realized that his only ally might not be much help physically. Our hero approached her and placed a hand on her shoulder, thanking her for her hard work. She was visibly stunned by the sudden change. He warned her that she would soon have more laundry to deal with. After that, he returned to running. Wolyong remained standing there, unable to understand the young master's change in behavior. Later that same night, under the full moon, our hero continues his tireless training. He runs through the mansion courtyards, completely wiped out, yet never stopping for even a second as he keeps pushing himself to lose weight. Exhaustion weighs heavily on his body, and he can barely breathe properly while running. The physical strain makes him feel as though he might pass out at any moment. Suddenly, the scene shifts as a memory from his old training days resurfaces. An instructor screams at him to focus on practice and stop looking around. Accusing him of wanting to go to the festival, the instructor punishes him with 100 strikes to the head. Even while being beaten, young our hero accepts the punishment in silence and with unwavering determination. The memory continues. A little girl complains about him being slow during training, while little Cheon Marang happily talks about wanting to attend the Lantern Festival. Standing alone, our hero wonders if he has ever made a single decision for himself. With no real choice, he had picked up the sword only to repay the family head's kindness. Back in the present, however, our hero smiles as he pushes himself to the very limit. Running beneath the moonlight, he realizes that all of this is actually pretty fun. From a distance, Wong watches his night run with a worried look, whispering her young master's title under her breath. Suddenly, our hero's body gives out. He trips and falls face first onto the ground. He admits to himself that Wolong was stronger than he had imagined. Even as the rain begins to pour down, our hero keeps training. Soon after, the group of bullies shows up again, complaining about his daily persistence. One of them hands over a bag of money after losing a bet. Annoyed, the loser mocks our hero's pathetic attitude, while another tells him to shut up. Ignoring the warning, he loudly claims that even if the young master becomes the head of the family, he will hold no real power. He questions whether the elders, or even Master Chien Sanhak, would follow his orders. According to them, they could simply join another faction if that day ever comes. They owe him nothing. With that, the group prepares to leave, thanking him for the easy betting money. Their leader, however, stays behind, irritation written all over his face as he watches our hero continue running in the rain without pause. He calls him an idiot, convinced that he is merely trying to reclaim his former rank. Then, suddenly, our hero stops running. He stands right in front of them. The attackers quickly realize that the young master had heard their entire conversation. At the same time, a girl appears in the distance, clutching folded fabrics as she watches the situation unfold with a serious expression. Her gaze is filled with clear disapproval. The scene shifts once again to a sunny day in the training courtyard. With steady hands, our hero grabs one of the swords from the rack and draws the blade with a determined look toward his future. He begins testing his movements and soon smiles in satisfaction at the results of his training. He can finally feel his stamina improving, allowing the medicine within his body to be absorbed more efficiently. Suddenly, a female voice demands that one of the bullies take back what he said. Turning around, our hero sees the group cornering someone. The girl shouts at them, telling them not to insult the young master, but to defend him instead. Surprised by her courage, our hero realizes that Wol Yang is the one being threatened by the leader of the bullies. As the attacker screams furiously, he orders the girl to repeat what she just said, but she doesn't back down. Instead, she demands that he take back the insult against her master. The others mock the situation before deciding to leave the two of them alone. With his eyes burning red with rage, the bully calls her insolent for daring to challenge him. Even in the face of that threat, she stands her ground with unwavering determination. Losing his patience, the attacker draws his sword. With the blade in hand, he threatens her, curious to see if she'll finally change her tune. Suddenly, another blade appears. At the very last second, our hero blocks the incoming attack. Stunned, the attacker turns around to see who interfered. To his shock, our hero stands right behind him with a sword in hand, protecting her. He can't believe the young master actually had the guts to challenge him. In response, our hero simply glares back with a serious, fearless look. The attacker tries to say something, but the words never come out. Then, our hero tells him to point his sword and prepare himself. If he has something to say to her, he should say it directly to him. With anger boiling over, the bully shouts that their conversation will now be settled with swords. He asks if this is an official duel. A smirk forms on our hero's face. He repeats the word duel with clear mockery. This, he explains, will not be a duel, but a life or death struggle. If the bully wins, our hero swears he will never step foot on the training field again. Desperate, she calls out, trying to stop this madness, but she is ignored as our hero drives a wooden sword into the ground, marking the start of the fight. Completely shocked by the declaration, she can only watch in silence. With a calm but firm voice, our hero states that he can tolerate insults against himself, but he will never accept someone disrespecting a person who truly cares about him. He orders the bully to draw his sword, because this is what he believes in. The bully confirms the promise, asking if he truly intends to leave if he loses. Our hero does not take it back. Feeling confident in his superior strength and speed, Nungrio prepares himself. In his eyes, that pathetic loser doesn't stand a single chance. Then, a powerful aura begins radiating from our hero's body. The attacker freezes, terrified by the overwhelming fighting spirit suddenly pouring out of him. With fury in his eyes, our hero asks if he's scared. The bully instinctively takes a step back, so our hero moves first. If his opponent refuses to fight, he will come to him. Without hesitation, our hero lunges forward with a shockingly fast strike, but the bully blocks it with ease and mocks how slow he is. However, an intense glow appears at the exact moment the blades collide, catching the attacker completely off guard. With that impact, the bully's sword is sent flying into the air. Nungrio's weapon drops and gets stuck into the ground right in front of him. He is left in total shock, unable to understand how he was disarmed so easily. Only then does he realize our hero hero's target was never him, it was his sword. He wonders when that pathetic loser suddenly became this strong. In response, our hero questions how someone could fight so sloppily in a life-or-death struggle. Nungrio drops to his knees. Calling him pathetic, our hero picks up the fallen weapon and states that he doesn't deserve to hold a blade. At the same time, blood begins dripping from his own hand, revealing the sheer force behind that strike. He tells Nungrio to reflect on why he fights, and only return once he finds an answer. Left kneeling on the ground, Nungrio is forced to think about the reason he even holds a sword. Soon after, our hero calls Wong, and the two walk past the group of bullies without another word. Nungrio remains there, hands stretched forward, unsure of how to react. The other apprentices simply watch in silence as the young master leaves the courtyard. On their way back to their quarters, Wong suddenly drops to her knees. She begins desperately apologizing. Seeing others mock his efforts had angered her, and she regrets interfering. She feels guilty that he ended up injuring his hand because of her, but our hero explains that the injury isn't her fault and tells her not to apologize. Surprised by his response, she listens as he calmly adds that he can tolerate insults directed at himself, but not toward those who care about him. With firm determination, our hero states that he will protect his people at any cost. Hearing this, Wong's eyes fill with tears. She remembers a New Year's wish he once made as a child, a promise to become a strong leader and train with the sword to protect everyone. Even back then, he had promised to protect her, no matter what. Back in the present, she breaks down in tears of joy, realizing that promise was never forgotten. Suddenly, a furious voice interrupts the moment. The man questions whether he can truly take responsibility for what he just said. Confused, our hero raises his sword in alert, unable to locate where the voice came from. An imposing figure soon appears, revealing himself as his uncle, Chon Son-hak, one of the three pillars of the family and grandmaster of two corporations. With a furious expression, the master repeats his question about the consequences of those words. Our hero greets him and apologizes for not visiting sooner. He remembers that this was the man he trusted most in his previous life. But Chon Son-hak ignores the greeting and demands an answer. Noticing that his uncle's cold attitude hasn't changed in 15 years, our hero calmly states that protecting his people is his conviction, and he will face any consequences that come with it. Furious, Chon Son-hak questions what he means by conviction and accuses him of using a forbidden technique, the Heavenly Sword Dragon Claw. As it is a secret art, he could only have learned it from a traitor. Chon Son-hak declares that he will find and punish whoever betrayed the clan, along with anyone protecting him. At that moment, our hero realizes that failure would mean being banned from the training grounds forever. He understands that his uncle is simply looking for an excuse to eliminate him for good. With contempt in his eyes, Chon Son-hak waits for an answer. Facing the situation, our hero carefully considers his next words. He looks his uncle in the eye and says that the traitor doesn't actually exist. Chon Son-hak is completely shocked by the answer and unable to understand it at all. Our hero explains that he learned the technique from the master himself by chance. Hearing such a weak excuse, his uncle lets out a mocking laugh. Soon after, the master begins laughing out loud, thinking the whole situation is absurd, but suddenly his expression shifts and he prepares to draw his sword in rage. Leaping into the air with his weapon, the master moves to test the young man's skill for himself. As he lands on the ground, he declares that someone like him could never possibly copy that move and openly challenges him. Our hero tenses up and grips his sword tightly, not expecting things to escalate this far. A powerful red aura surrounds Chon Son-hak's body, showing that he is ready for battle. Our hero insists that he has already told the truth, and if his uncle refuses to believe it, he will demonstrate another move himself. Chon Son-hak is left momentarily speechless by the sheer confidence coming from him. Blood begins dripping from our hero's hand, a result of the injury from the previous duel. The master accuses him of lying to save himself and refuses to believe a single word. He then turns his gaze toward Wong, who stands nearby in fear. Chon Son-hak calls out to her and demands to know what kind of scheme her master is plotting. Warning her not to lie, he threatens to end her life on the spot if she dares deceive him. Terrified by both the threat and the pressure, Wong's hands begin to tremble as she struggles to find the right words. With a shaky voice, she explains that for the past month, the young master has been smiling the entire time. Chon Son-hak is confused by the response and questions what she means. He points out that the young master would normally explode with rage because of his inferiority complex. Frightened, Wong nods in agreement. She continues, saying that even while running tirelessly at night, our hero seemed completely different. Throughout his training, he continued to smile while pushing himself to exercise. Chon Son-hak remains silent as he listens to the servant's testimony. With sincerity in her eyes, she admits she was happy to see someone finally working hard on their own. Even when others mocked him, he never looked their way and remained focused. In the past, he would have lashed out or run away, but this time, he didn't do either. Instead of retreating, the young master drew his sword for the first time to defend her. With conviction, Wong states that that he has changed completely and that she believes in him. Faced with such passionate words, Chun Sun-hak falls silent as he processes everything. Soon, his sharp gaze hardens as he arrives at a decision. Turning back toward our hero, he asks which martial arts he currently knows. He answers that he is only familiar with the basic family techniques. After hearing this, the Grand Master raises 2 fingers and sets a strict condition. If the young master defeats the top apprentice within 2 months, he will consider believing his story. With a challenging look, Chun Sun-hak glares at our hero and asks if he can really pull it off. Our hero simply smiles, remembering how his uncle had always tested him like this, and says that 1 month is more than enough. The uncle stays silent for a moment, staring at him with an unreadable expression, waiting for him to hesitate. Then, Chun Sun-hak lowers his weapon and agrees to the new deadline. So be it. Turning his back, the master leaves the courtyard, leaving the two alone along with a worried Wong. Unlike her, however, our hero flashes a mischievous grin and tells her to head back. He got what he wanted. Resting the sword on his shoulder, he says he still needs to run a bit more today. From there, time passes quickly, and half a month goes by as our hero trains non-stop. Now in the present, his steady hands grip the sword hilt, proving he is no longer the same person as before. Suddenly, he unleashes a powerful vertical strike, slicing through the air with precision. Drenched in sweat, our hero reflects that he has practically been living here and has already reached the 5th level of the sun art. Thanks to that, most of the yang energy has been melted down, but the yin energy remains trapped and far more difficult to clear. Given the situation, he regrets not being able to obtain a better cultivation method from the library. Looking at the calluses on his hand, he wishes his energy center would heal as easily as his wounds. While resting, several apprentices begin mocking him. They claim his opponent will have an easy time humiliating him and laugh at the fact that he only knows a single vertical strike. Even after hearing everything, our hero ignores them, knowing these rumors are part of his uncle's attempt to force him into quitting. One of the apprentices mocks him further, saying he probably can't even tell the difference between a hoe and a sword. In response, our hero walks toward him and asks if he has something funny to share. He stares him down and asks if he is truly the top apprentice. The man looks back with contempt, and the symbol on his bandana catches our hero's attention. With a cocky smile, he confirms that he is the best and promises to go easy during the fight. Feeling as though he has seen that face before, our hero asks for his name. The man introduces himself formally, Lee Seok-gi. The moment he hears that name, our hero freezes. He remembers that Lee Seok-gi was the traitor who leaked information to the dark cult. Rage immediately takes over as he grinds his teeth. Turning away, our hero says he will remember that name while the others laugh behind him. Before, he only intended to do his best, but now his plans have changed. With fury in his eyes, he swears that the traitor will pay for everything. Half a month passes, and the day of the long-awaited duel finally arrives. Within the arena, the crowd eagerly waits to see the young master humiliated, while others quietly wonder if he has truly changed. Suddenly, the judge demands absolute silence to begin the family event. He announces that the duel organized by Grandmaster Chun Sun-hak will now commence. The challenger, Lee Seok-gi, is called forward as the uncle watches from his seat. With a confident smirk, the traitor raises his sword and steps into the arena, ready for an easy victory. Then, the judge calls for our hero to appear, but to everyone's surprise, no one answers. The judge looks around in confusion and repeats the call. Still, there is no response. Whispers begin spreading throughout the crowd, as many assume he fled at the last moment. Laughter erupts, with some claiming that coward never had the courage to show up. Chun Sun-hak looks disappointed, while Lee Seok-gi smirks at the situation. Suddenly, a calm voice cuts through the noise, stating that our hero is already here. Both the traitor and the uncle are stunned by the sudden declaration. Moments later, our hero walks calmly into the arena. The crowd looks around in confusion, wondering where the former overweight young master went and who this person is. An unrecognizable figure now stands before them. He has lost all the weight and carries himself with the posture of a true warrior. With a calm expression, our hero announces that he is ready to fight, leaving everyone speechless. Our hero looks up toward the stands where the clan authorities are seated. With a respectful gesture, he joins his hands and apologizes to Chun Sun-hak for arriving late. Chun Sun-hak frowns impatiently and tells him to skip the formalities. He only wants to know if he is ready. Without hesitation, our hero spins his wooden sword with practiced skill and confirms that he is prepared for the challenge. Lee Seok-gi watches from a distance in silence, carefully analyzing his opponent's newfound confidence. The traitor grows irritated by the calm expression on the young master's face. Assuming the sudden weight loss has made him arrogant, he glances toward the main box, trying to read the Grandmaster's intentions. By allowing this duel to take place, he realizes the opportunity is perfect. The clan leader, along with the dragon and phoenix captains, are all present to witness it. With With a malicious smile, Lee Seok-gi decides to use this moment to humiliate our hero and impress those in power. While the traitor schemes, our hero recognizes that he has already been underestimated and dismissed. His expression darkens. He knows exactly what kind of parasite stands before him, someone who climbs through manipulation rather than skill. In his past life, Lee Seok-gi rose through the ranks not with his sword, but through deception. Blinded by greed, he eventually sold clan secrets to the dark cult in exchange for wealth. That bitter memory resurfaces. By the time the betrayal was discovered, it had already been too late for justice. But now, standing face to face with the enemy once more, our hero realizes that even though the crime has not yet happened in this timeline, that is precisely why he must be stopped. Lee Seok-gi likely believes everything is proceeding perfectly, having already become the top apprentice. But our hero shows a confident smile, knowing that the traitor's fate is about to change. Gripping his weapon tightly, he prepares himself. He knows every move his opponent will make, and today, that man's future ends here. From above, Chon Sun-hak announces that the match will end only when he decides. This is not a fight to the death. Hearing the rules, our hero tightens his grip on the wooden sword, focusing solely on crushing his opponent. Meanwhile, Lee Seok-gi maintains his arrogant smile, convinced that victory will come easily. Without delay, the Grandmaster gives the signal to begin. In an instant, our hero bursts forward with explosive speed, charging toward his opponent like a bolt of lightning. The sudden attack catches Lee Seok-gi off guard, forcing him to raise his guard to block. The impact shakes the ground beneath them, proving that the young master is no longer someone to be underestimated. With an impressive leap, our hero brings his blade down toward his opponent's head. Lee Seok-gi blocks the strike and comments that he heard rumors about the duel with Nungrio. He claims the young master relied on a strange technique to disarm his opponent before. Lee Seok-gi shifts his stance and mockingly asks how our hero plans to handle what comes next. Forced to react instantly, our hero raises his defense to withstand the crushing blow. The clash shakes the arena. Both warriors strain as the wooden weapons nearly crack from the sheer force. It is no longer a simple sparring match. But our hero does not remain stationary. But remembering that the masters are watching, he abandons the thought. This is his chance to shine. He pours his full strength into the strike, smiling sadistically as he warns his opponent not to hold a grudge. The wooden blades creak under pressure as he tries to smash through the defense. Our hero grits his teeth. The weight behind the blow is heavier than expected. Suddenly, Lee Seok-gi fights dirty. He takes advantage of a small opening and drives a brutal kick straight into our hero's chest. The unexpected hit sends him flying backward. However, before falling, our hero plants his feet and slides across the arena floor, barely regaining his stance. Taking a deep breath, he realizes that his current body still has physical limits. There is no time to recover. The traitor charges again, spinning his weapon with the intent to end the fight. Arrogantly, Lee Seok-gi shouts for the great young master to pay attention as he prepares the finishing blow. The blade descends at terrifying speed, aiming directly at our hero's shoulder. A dull, painful sound echoes through the arena. The wooden sword makes contact. Pain surges through his muscles and bones. Our hero drops to his knees. Lee Seok-gi smirks, commenting on the vast gap between their levels. Raising his fist, he celebrates what he believes is victory. Satisfied, he looks down at his defeated opponent. But something feels strange. The arena has gone silent. The crowd appears tilted. The stands seem to lie sideways. Confused, he wonders why everything is spinning, why he cannot hear anything clearly. Then, a firm footstep lands beside his face. Reality crashes down. The world is not tilted. He is the one lying on the ground. Looking up, Lee Seok-gi sees our hero standing over him with an intimidating presence. His face is pressed against the cold stone floor. Stunned, he mutters the young master's name in disbelief. A mocking smile appears. Our hero calmly asks if he enjoyed his short nap. Drool slides from the corner of Lee Seok-gi's mouth as he struggles to understand what happened. He attempts to rise, but his body refuses to obey. Something catches his eye. A broken piece of wood lies nearby, his wooden sword, snapped clean in half. A memory flashes back. At the moment of impact, when the finishing strike descended, instead of retreating, our hero stepped forward, using the opponent's momentum against him. In that split second, he delivered a perfect counter, driving the hilt of the broken sword directly into Lee Seok-gi's forehead. The force sent the traitor spinning through the air before crashing violently onto the stone floor. Back in the present, he lies defeated, unable to process the loss. Through blurred vision, he stares upward, unable to comprehend how he was beaten by someone he once considered worthless. Our hero looks down coldly and calls him a turncoat. Then he announces loudly that he will overlook this for now, but warns that he will be watching his every move. Panic begins to spread inside Lee Seok-gi. He tries to convince himself it was merely carelessness, but deep down, he knows that excuse will not save him. His reputation is shattered. His plans to impress the masters have collapsed. The crowd whispers whispers in disbelief, stunned that the fight ended in a single, decisive move. Meanwhile, Wong can no longer hold back her tears. She cries with joy, relieved that her master stands victorious. Ignoring the noise of the arena, our hero turns his gaze toward the tower where the clan leadership watches. High above, Chon Son-hak frowns, showing a mixture of surprise and restrained frustration. The wind blows across the arena as our hero stands tall. His will proves stronger than steel. At the top of the tower, Chon Son-hak remains silent, staring at his nephew with an unreadable expression.
Meanwhile, the crowd erupts in chaos. Many question whether the top apprentice truly lost in a single move, or if some kind of trick was involved. Watching our hero's calm posture, Chon Son-hak thinks with visible annoyance that this victory will only make him more arrogant. Closing his eyes briefly, the master attempts to control his frustration before rising abruptly from his seat. His cape flutters as the sound of his movement echoes through the arena. With an imposing voice, Chon Son-hak begins to declare the official result of the match and the true winner. But suddenly, a loud voice interrupts him. Our hero declares that he is already aware of the complaints made against him. The crowd is stunned by the interruption, wondering what he intends to say next. Facing them directly, he admits that he knows they call him useless behind his back and question his abilities. From above, Chon Son-hak listens with a serious expression as the heated declaration echoes across the grounds. In a steady voice, our hero continues, saying that past mistakes cannot be erased and that he accepts responsibility for all of them. He admits that he cannot even remember every person he hurt in the past because there were simply too many. Those terrible actions were committed by the former Chon Mu-ryang, blinded by arrogance. Even so, our hero chooses to carry the weight of those sins himself and accept any punishment that follows. Clenching his fists tightly, he acknowledges that he now lives as Chon Mu-ryang and must repair what was broken. Facing dozens of apprentices who resent him, then, from the bottom of his heart, he offers a sincere apology for his past behavior. To everyone's shock, the proud young master bows his head. Silence falls across the arena as the noble lowers himself before his own subordinates. The apprentices exchange confused glances, unsure how to react to such a drastic change. Seeing his sincerity, Wong presses her hands against her chest, overwhelmed by emotion. But in the stands, Chon Son-hak remains unmoved. His expression reflects only suspicion and severity. Finally, he declares that if apologies are not enough to calm their anger, anyone is free to challenge him at any time, and announces that he will be waiting for any challenger who steps forward. Afterward, he turns and calls for Wong to leave with him. Chon Son-hak watches silently as they depart. Stroking his beard, he falls into deep thought, carefully analyzing everything that has just unfolded. On the way back, our hero thanks Wong for taking care of the heavenly light sword during the duel. She admits she was nervous, but holding the weapon strangely calmed her. When he asks for it back, she hesitates. Confused, our hero asks why she is suddenly being shy. Blushing, she hugs the scabbard and asks to hold Little Heaven a bit longer because it makes her feel safe. Hearing that nickname, our hero freezes. A deep question resurfaces in his mind. He remembers someone once asking what he sought to cut through. A shiver runs down his spine as he turns toward the tower where Chon Son-hak had been standing. The connection to the past feels overwhelming. A nostalgic smile slowly forms. He never imagined those words would return to him like this. Up in the tower, Chon Son-hak finally speaks, commenting on the sword technique displayed in the arena. With a piercing gaze, the Grandmaster asks whether his nephew will explain what he was trying to cut through. Without hesitation, our hero answers confidently. His goal is to cut through the sky itself. He looks at Wong as he reaffirms it, making clear that his ambition goes far beyond what anyone expects. Hearing this, Chon Son-hak's eyes widen slightly. Outwardly, he considers it absurd, but inwardly, he recognizes it, because that was the very path of the sword he pursued his entire life, and somehow, his nephew has grasped it. After a long pause, the uncle admits he lost the bet and tells our hero to request a reward. Seizing the opportunity, our hero asks for permission to enter the clan library. Chon Son-hak refuses immediately. That authority lies beyond him. Thinking quickly, our hero changes his request. Instead, he asks for permission to fight one different opponent every single day. The uncle is visibly surprised. With a serious expression, our hero explains that real combat is the greatest form of training. Chon Son-hak stares deeply into his eyes, searching for any trace of deceit in that iron determination. Finding none, he turns his back, accepts the request, and walks away with a frustrated huff. A faint smirk appears on our hero's face. Everything is unfolding exactly as planned. As the master disappears into the corridors, the pair continues walking, leaving the empty arena behind. Curious, Wong asks what cutting the sky truly means. Our hero answers mysteriously that it is something only he and the master understand. A new day dawns over the mansion. Heavy footsteps echo through the estate as Lee Seok-gi fumes over the newly established rule of one fight per day. At first, he dismisses it as luck, but then, Then, an idea forms, a dangerous one. He grips his weapon and slowly draws a real blade, the metal gleaming with a cold light. A twisted smile spreads across his face. If daily combat is allowed, he will grow stronger, but in the dirtiest way possible. The polished blade reflects his distorted expression. His goal is not just victory, it is chaos. That night, in a tavern within the city, disorder erupts. A drunken man stumbles through the establishment, loudly demanding to know if the customers recognize him. Holding a bottle, he kicks an innocent patron and arrogantly declares himself the great young master of the Chon family. The customers whisper in fear, confused by the violent display. One man suggests stepping in, but his friend pulls him back, warning him not to provoke someone tied to a powerful clan. The imposter continues waving a sword recklessly, asking if the Chon family is a joke. An elderly man on the floor begs for mercy. His pleas are ignored. Without hesitation, the attacker raises his blade and delivers a brutal vertical strike. The slash echoes through the tavern. Blood splatters across the wooden floor and stains our hero's name. Tension thickens as a man in blue steps forward to intervene. Moments later, he tastes iron in his mouth. He is bleeding. The imposter walks away without even looking back, dismissing the injury as fake. Humiliated and furious, the wounded man stares at his distorted reflection in his blade. Back in the present, the truth is revealed. The one behind this scheme is Cha Myung-hak, the very first opponent scheduled to fight our hero under the new rule, and he has already begun his move in the shadows.
In the center of the training grounds, the sharp sound of a blade cutting through the air echoes with steady precision. Our hero is not practicing a flashy or complex technique. Instead, he repeats a single fundamental movement, a vertical downward strike, thousands of times without pause. Cha Myung-hak watches from the sidelines, growing increasingly impatient. He had been summoned for a duel, yet our hero has not even acknowledged his presence. To Myung-hak, it feels like deliberate disrespect. Determined to turn this encounter into a life-or-death confrontation, he has brought a real blade. Later, Wol-young arrives with snacks and warm tea. She explains that once our hero begins training, he becomes completely absorbed and forgets everything else. Though Myung-hak initially refuses her hospitality, thinking little of her status, he eventually accepts as the hours stretch on and our hero continues his relentless repetition. During their conversation, Wol-young reveals her concern that our hero pushes himself too hard. She admits he made many grave mistakes in the past, but insists he is now sincerely trying to atone for them. She believes his change is genuine. Watching more closely, Myung-hak begins to notice something unsettling. Our hero's footwork, blade angle, and trajectory are perfectly identical with every strike. There is not the slightest deviation. The consistency is so precise that it feels unnatural. Even before the duel begins, Myung-hak feels immense pressure. Simply observing the path of the sword makes him feel as if he is already being struck. Sweat forms on his brow as our hero's shadow seems to clash against him in his mind. When the training finally ends, our hero approaches Myung-hak and sincerely apologizes for making him wait. He explains that he is trying to remember the names of everyone in the clan. His eyes then fall on the scar across Myung-hak's face, a wound he himself inflicted in the past. Confronted with this truth and the resentment behind it, our hero bows deeply in apology. This humility shocks Myung-hak. The man he once knew never accepted fault. Seeing the sincerity in his actions, Myung-hak realizes that the change is real. Without exchanging a single blow, he declares his defeat. He admits he is not ready and promises to return after properly preparing himself. After he leaves, our hero asks Wol-young to write down every wrong he committed in the past, without omission, even the harm done to her. He is determined to confront and repair everything he once broke. From that day forward, challengers arrive daily, and every day, our hero defeats them using that same single downward strike. Many leave believing they could have won if only they had been more cautious. But Wol-young, who witnessed the countless hours of repetition, understands the truth. No amount of caution could overcome that level of discipline. Later, our hero meditates alone, attempting to circulate his internal energy. Though he has reached level 7 of yang energy, he cannot yet neutralize the yin energy within him. This imbalance prevents him from accessing his full power. He believes the answer may lie within the secret library, but access remains beyond his reach. A growing sense of urgency fills him. For the first time, he longs to meet the man he can now call father, a dream he once thought impossible. As he prepares for that meeting, Hua Hong suddenly rushes in with alarming news. Wol-young has angered our hero's fiancé after accidentally colliding with her while carrying a tray of food. Now, Wol-young kneels in apology as the noblewoman stands over her in fury, ready to deliver punishment.
In the courtyard, Wol-young knelt with her forehead pressed against the cold stone, her body trembling under crushing fear. Before her stood our hero's fiancé, draped in a white cloak cloak now stained with blood. Grim-faced warriors surrounded her, hands resting on their sword hilts. She looked down at the trembling maid with open disdain. To her, apologies meant nothing once her garment had been ruined. With a casual gesture, she ordered her men to enforce their clan's law. The lead warrior stepped forward. His blade slid free with a metallic whisper, sunlight flashing along its edge as he raised it high above Wolyang's exposed neck. Another servant ran from the building, screaming for them to stop. The sword fell. Steel clashed in a violent burst of sound. A second blade intercepted the strike just inches from Wolyang's throat. Shock rippled across the courtyard as everyone turned toward the intruder. Standing protectively over Wolyang was our hero, sword drawn, eyes burning with a cold fury no one present had ever seen from him. The Tang clan warriors quickly recovered and surrounded him. Weapons rose. Killing intent thickened the air. Ignoring their hostility, our hero demanded to know what they believed they were doing. When pressed for his identity and his right to interfere, he revealed himself as the eldest young master of the Qian family. At the sound of his name, several guards stiffened. Our hero's fiancée adjusted her demeanor and formally introduced herself as Tang Sohye of the Sichuan Tang clan, her faint smile carefully controlled. Her name struck our hero like thunder. Memories from his previous life surged forward. Tang Sohye had once been his wife. She had also been the architect of his family's destruction. Years ago, when conflicting elixirs ravaged his body, the Qian family had desperately sought help from the Tang clan, masters of poison and antidote. In exchange for treatment, a marriage alliance was offered. The Tang clan accepted eagerly, not out of compassion, but ambition. When Tang Sohye first arrived, she had already been dressed in wedding robes, calmly accepting the sight of her bloated and unconscious groom. The marriage was rushed through. Over the next decade, while our hero was supposedly being treated, the Tang clan steadily tightened its grip on the Qian family. Exploiting the family head's unusual leniency, they used the alliance as a foothold to expand into the Central Plains, eventually dominating the Zhejiang region. That marriage marked the beginning of the Qian family's downfall. Snapped back to the present, our hero fixed Tang Sohye with a cold glare and questioned her actions. She dismissed the matter as nothing more than punishing a maid who had dirtied her cloak. Our hero's anger flared. Attempted execution over stained clothing was beyond excessive. Tang Sohye implied the maid could have been an assassin and claimed the punishment followed Tang clan law. That was enough. Our hero declared that this was not Tang territory. This was the Qian estate. Within these walls, Qian law prevailed. He accused her of overstepping her authority and insulting his household. One of her guards argued that law should not lose its power simply by crossing into another domain. Tang Sohye challenged our hero to stop them if he could. At her signal, the lead guard stepped forward once more. As the blade was drawn, a menacing aura radiated from it. Our hero immediately recognized it. Sword aura, a technique reserved for true masters. The guard lunged, blade glowing with condensed internal energy. Our hero met the strike head-on. Steel collided in a shower of sparks. The impact sent violent shock through his arms. Though their swordsmanship matched in precision, the guard's internal energy vastly surpassed his own. With every exchange, our hero was forced backward, teeth clenched against overwhelming pressure. He realized brute force would not win this battle. Shifting tactics, he abandoned power for precision. Drawing upon techniques mastered in his previous life, he targeted not the man, but the sword itself. The moment the guard's blade entered range, our hero executed the heavenly dragon sword art's dragon claw capture. His hands moved with blinding speed, redirecting the sword aura away from his body. The deflected energy slammed into the courtyard stones, shattering them. The guard stared in disbelief. His strongest attack had been neutralized, but the difference in raw internal power remained undeniable. In the next exchange, our hero was knocked to the ground, disarmed. The guard retrieved his blade, mocking the effort. Technique alone could not close the gap. Before the clash resumed, Tang Sohye stepped forward. With faint amusement, she remarked that she was pleased to see her fiancé defend even a servant. She stated she would see him at that evening's banquet before turning to leave. Then a cry of alarm cut through the tension. Our hero spun around. Wolyang had collapsed. Another maid tried desperately to wake her. From a distance, Tang Sohye observed carefully. Our hero's recovery differed from the information she had received. If the Qian family discovered the truth, the marriage alliance might be reconsidered. She quietly asked her guard for an assessment. He reported that, while our hero's swordsmanship was refined, his internal energy remained weak. 2 subordinates would be enough to eliminate him. Tang Sohye gave a quiet order. The eldest young master must not appear at the banquet. Meanwhile, panic surged through our hero as he rushed to Wolyang's side. Her face was pale, her breathing shallow. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. His gaze shifted to the overturned food tray nearby. The realization struck him instantly. Poison. A cold, absolute fury settled over him. Carefully lifting Wolyang into his arms, he ordered Hua Hong to bring his sword. As he carried the unconscious maid away, hidden behind a pillar, a trembling spy watched everything unfold unfold, uncertain whether he should report this shocking development to Nyung Ryo-eun. The young master's mansion was in chaos. Physicians and attendants moved urgently around the bed where Wol-yang lay trembling beneath heavy blankets. The chief doctor finally stepped back, his hands stained with herbs and traces of blood. The poison had been suppressed for the moment, but if it truly originated from the Tang clan, as our hero suspected, there would be no cure without their antidote. Wol-yang's skin burned with fever. Sweat rolled down her pale face. Her breathing came rough and uneven, each inhale more fragile than the last. Our hero stood silently at her bedside. He wanted to reassure her. He wanted to promise she would survive, but the words would not come. Guilt pressed against his chest like a blade. He calmly instructed Hua Hong to remain and watch over Wol-yang without leaving her side. Without further explanation, he picked up his sword and turned toward the door. At the threshold, he paused. Tonight was the clan leader's banquet. As the eldest son of the Chon family, his absence would not go unnoticed, and those responsible for poisoning Wol-yang would undoubtedly be present. His expression hardened. Elsewhere in the estate, Chon Sun-hak walked alone down a long corridor. His steps were steady, yet his thoughts were heavy. Drawing the Tang clan into open hostility was no small matter. Then he felt it. A violent surge of qi erupted from beyond the mansion walls, wild, sharp, and unstable. It sliced through the night air like an unsheathed blade. The source lay deep within the forest behind the estate. In a clearing stood our hero. His sword flashed repeatedly, cleaving through thick tree trunks as though they were dry branches. Every movement was precise, refined through countless repetitions. But there was no tranquility in his blade, only fury. Wood shattered, leaves rained from above, dust spiraled into the air. Each strike carried killing intent, not the clarity of discipline, but the weight of rage. Chon Sun-hak arrived quietly and observed from the edge of the clearing. He understood immediately. If our hero continued in this state, anger would devour him. With a sharp exhale, our hero gathered every ounce of remaining strength into a final strike. The blade descended from top to bottom in a single, absolute motion. A towering tree split cleanly in half and collapsed with a thunderous crash that echoed through the forest. Our hero staggered backward, breathing heavily. His hands trembled around the hilt. Chon Sun-hak stepped forward at last. What he had witnessed was not ambition, it was frustration. Our hero acknowledged the truth without excuse. He was weak. Because he was weak, he had misjudged him before. Without further hesitation, the elder drew his sword. Energy erupted from Chon Sun-hak like a storm breaking across the heavens. He revealed the truth. He was the creator of Dragon Claw Rain, and he had also created another form never taught to anyone, one that stood on a razor's edge between cutting the sky and cutting people. Qi surged violently around him as he unleashed the hidden technique. Dragon's Wrath. Before the shock could settle, reverse-scale cleaving sword descended. The clearing exploded with force. Trees were severed with terrifying precision. Not far away, hidden within the shadows of the trees, several men waited. They belonged to our hero's fiancé. They carried poison supplied by their young lady, planning to make our hero unable to move for days and stage it as drunken collapse. Back in the clearing, silence slowly returned. Our hero stood amid destruction. Chon Sun-hak explained the core difference between Dragon Claw Rain and reverse-scale cleaving. When a swordsman grows overly accustomed to his blade, he believes it is inseparable from himself. Dragon Claw Rain exploits that flaw. It was not merely a technique of strength, it was a technique of understanding. Yet even such mastery had limits against overwhelming power. He continued further. True mastery of reverse-scale cleaving required transcending the belief that the blade alone carried power. Our hero understood. Perfecting it instantly was impossible, but he resolved to advance as far as he could before the banquet began. This was not solely about mastering techniques. It was about whether he could truly protect the Chon family. The weight of that responsibility settled firmly within our hero. After a long silence, his expression changed. The rage that had driven him earlier condensed and sharpened. He would protect them because they were his family. Chon Sun-hak finally sheathed his sword. The energy in the forest had shifted. There were others hiding nearby.
Without another word, the elder turned toward the banquet hall. Our hero bowed respectfully. When he lifted his head again, his exhaustion remained, but his mind was steady. His anger was no longer chaotic. It was precise. At the edge of the forest, faint movements disturbed the darkness. If rats crept into Chon territory with poison and schemes, he would not allow them to retreat untouched. The forest path behind the Chon estate lay deceptively peaceful beneath shifting patches of sunlight filtering through the tall pines. A faint breeze stirred the leaves, carrying the quiet scent of damp earth and moss. Our hero walked alone along the narrow trail, his steps slow and measured, one hand resting lightly on the hilt of his sword. The forest should have been calm, but the stillness felt wrong. Then the air moved. 3 figures in blue trainee robes dropped silently from the trees like shadows falling from the branches. They landed in front of him with practiced grace and quickly
quickly bowed in greeting. Their expressions were respectful, their voices calm. They claimed they had merely come into the forest looking for a place to train after unintentionally seeing him earlier. But our hero's eyes turned cold. He had memorized every face and name among the Chan clan's true trainees. Every single one. These men were strangers. Without a word, his sword slid free of its sheath in a clean, circular flash of steel. The sound of the blade cutting through the air shattered the quiet forest. If they wished to hide their identities, then combat would reveal the truth soon enough. The clearing exploded into motion. One attacker lunged first, his saber darting forward in a sharp thrust. Our hero shifted a half step to the side, his sword answering with a devastating arc that struck like lightning. The force sent the man crashing violently into the dirt, leaves scattering beneath him. The second assailant, a bearded fighter, rushed in to support his companion, yet his movements were awkward, his unfamiliar saber clearly slowing him down. Our hero noticed it instantly. The weapon was wrong for the man's style, and every strike he attempted carried hesitation. Our hero pressed the advantage. Their blades collided again and again, steel ringing through the forest like a storm of iron. With every exchange, our hero's movements became faster, sharper, more relentless. His opponents struggled to keep pace. Then he stepped forward and unleashed reverse scale slash. White energy erupted from the swing like a violent burst of wind. The shockwave blasted outward, tearing through the clearing. The second man was thrown backward with a cry, his body tumbling across the ground. The third attacker tried to counter the opening, raising his blade for a desperate strike, but he was already too late. Our hero leapt into the air, twisting mid-flight with impossible precision. His sword flashed downward in a brutal overhead strike that crashed into the man's guard and smashed him straight into the earth. The impact echoed through the trees. Silence fell over the clearing. Bodies lay scattered across the forest floor. The disguise had failed completely. Our hero stood over the defeated men, his blade still humming faintly in the air as he studied their faces, already certain of what he would find. Meanwhile, deeper within the forest, another Tang clan member waited impatiently among the trees. Nearly 45 minutes had passed since the other three had gone ahead. They should have returned by now. His eyes narrowed as doubt crept into his mind. If they had not come back, then the mission had likely failed. The last thing the Tang clan could allow was evidence linking them to an assassination attempt. Without hesitation, he gathered the spare clothing and disguises they had used and set them ablaze. The flames flickered brightly in the shaded clearing, devouring the cloth piece by piece. Even so, he felt little fear. The Tang clan's loyalty ran deeper than blood. Even if the three had been captured, they would never betray their clan. Of that, he was certain. Elsewhere on the Chan estate grounds, the real trainees remained in the training field. Their bodies glistened with sweat beneath the afternoon sun as they continued sparring, shirtless, bruised and battered after their crushing defeat earlier that day at the hands of our hero. Wooden practice swords cracked together again and again. Nearby, Cham Yong-hak and several others rested, leaning against the fence as they caught their breath. Then the calm shattered. One of their fellow trainees came running toward them, his face pale and his breathing ragged. When he spoke, the words struck like thunder. The Tang clan had attempted to eliminate a mere maid, not because she had attacked them, not because she had betrayed them, but simply because their iron law forbade even accidental contact with the direct lineage of the clan. Their poison was so lethal that a single touch could kill. Their hidden weapons were impossible to predict, and any violation of their rules was punished with death. The trainees exchanged uneasy glances. The thought of opposing such a terrifying clan sent a chill through them. Yet even so, they slowly came to the same conclusion.
The Chan clan might be strict, but its rules were fair. Its strength came from unity, not fear. Even if the eldest young master looked down on them as useless deadbeats, they still trusted the clan more than the cold brutality of the Tang. Their eyes hardened with resolve. If the Tang clan had moved against them, then the Chan clan's pride was at stake, and the only person capable of standing against them was the eldest young master. They had to find him immediately. Without wasting another second, the trainees rushed toward the forest, but as they pushed deeper between the trees, one of the men who had gone ahead suddenly froze in the underbrush. In a secluded clearing nearby, he saw a Tang warrior dressed in green kneeling beside a small fire. The man was frantically burning clothes. Every piece of fabric that might reveal their identity was being thrown into the flames. The realization struck like a thunderclap. They had been here. They had already made their move. The Tang warrior's head snapped upward. His eyes widened with shock as he spotted the approaching trainees hidden among the bushes. For a brief moment, fear flashed across his face. Then something inside him snapped. With a furious roar, he drew his blade and charged. Steel flashed through the air in a deadly arc before the Qian trainees could even react. Two of them were cut down instantly, their bodies collapsing as blood sprayed across the fallen leaves. The forest erupted into chaos once more.
The Tang clan warrior swiftly cut down 2 members of the Chan clan. After noticing someone had witnessed him burning the clothes, he immediately decided to eliminate that person as well and launched another deadly strike. At that moment, a shadow appeared and blocked his attack. The Tang clan warrior was caught completely off guard, unable to comprehend how a mere trainee could stop his strike. Before he could recover, another Chan clan trainee rushed in with a sword, forcing him to step back to evade. Their movements and reactions were incredibly fast, far beyond what he expected from ordinary trainees. It soon became clear that these were not normal trainees, but elite individuals preparing to enter the Heavenly Dragon and Heavenly Phoenix sword units, forces personally trained by Commander Chon Son-hak. Only a select few from the very best were chosen, and these fighters stood among them. Despite realizing this, the Tang clan warrior remained arrogant, convinced that trainees could never match real warriors. At that moment, 2 more Chan clan members rose, turning the situation into a 7-against-1 confrontation. The Tang clan warrior was shaken when he realized that some of the people he had already attacked were still standing, having successfully defended themselves. Now completely surrounded by 7 opponents, he found himself trapped. Even so, his pride remained unshaken. However, it didn't take long before he was overwhelmed. The 7 Chan clan members attacked together, quickly subduing him until he lost consciousness. They captured him without further resistance. During this time, one of the Chan clan members excused himself and returned to the forest alone. In reality, he had no intention of relieving himself. Instead, he retrieved the burned clothes from the fire, suspecting they could serve as important evidence. With hidden intentions of possibly switching sides to the Tang clan in the future, he secretly kept the items for himself without informing his comrades. Even as the others called for him to return quickly, he delayed, pretending to be occupied while continuing to gather the evidence. Meanwhile, the remaining members focused on the urgent task of finding their missing young master within the forest. Elsewhere, our hero had already defeated the Tang clan members and discovered a small bottle of medicine among them. The scene then shifted to the Chan clan. The patriarch had returned and was welcomed with great ceremony. His presence drew admiration from everyone as he walked along the red carpet with authority and dignity. He expressed gratitude to all the martial artists and distinguished guests who had gathered for the grand banquet. Before the feast began, he introduced a special guest. Soon after, the Sichuan Tang clan made their entrance with full grandeur. Their arrival caused a stir among the guests, who were visibly surprised. At the center of attention was Tang So-hai, the princess of the Tang clan. Her beauty immediately captivated the crowd, confirming the rumors that had spread about her. The patriarch then made a shocking announcement, declaring that the Chan clan and the Sichuan Tang clan would unite through marriage, forming a powerful alliance between the 2 families. The entire hall erupted with reactions, as speculation spread rapidly among the guests. Tang So-hai, however, felt a sense of satisfaction, knowing that the marriage was now inevitable. At the same time, the Council of Elders had yet to arrive. The patriarch soon realized that his son was missing and ordered a search, but no trace of him could be found within the clan grounds. Meanwhile, members of the Tang clan quietly confirmed among themselves that their plan appeared to be successful. With guards already placed around the banquet, they were confident that the young master would not be able to appear. The banquet officially began and continued in grand fashion. As it neared its end, our hero was still nowhere to be seen, leaving the patriarch visibly disappointed. Just as he began delivering his closing remarks and reassuring the guests about their safe departure, a sudden commotion broke out near the entrance. The large doors burst open violently. A group entered the hall, drawing everyone's attention, including the patriarch himself. It was none other than our hero, accompanied by Chan clan members, who had successfully captured a Tang clan warrior and brought him into the banquet.